get the recordings, and you can bring friends and everything like that. So we're going to talk about Halloween. Last week we talked about Halloween for teens. Um, and this week we're going to talk about Halloween for young learners or kids in particular. The wonderful thing about Halloween is that kids love it. It's a great time for you to really motivate your learners. So if you think, ooh, it's getting to that time of the year when the excitement of the beginning of the year may have died down for your kids. They may be getting bored and stuff. So Halloween's a really good time to look forward to really make your learners enjoy different things. And you can teach so many wonderful things during Halloween, and we'll share that in just a little bit. But I like this quote from a really incredible author series show is Are You Afraid of the Dark? And kids love Are You Afraid of the Dark? Are You Afraid of the Dark is basically, if you've ever seen it, it's a show all the kids gather around and they tell scary stories. And that's something that's a traditional. When you have been at a camping site or maybe you've gone camping overnight, kids, even though it's a little scary, they like to tell that. But he says there is magic, but you have to be the magician. You have to make the magic happen. So you can make that magic happen in your classrooms during October, because during October we can do really wonderful things. We can learn about magic and monsters and witches and wizards and zombies and ghosts. And these are all things that you can explore, exactly like Mary says, folklore, that you can explore during Halloween. So it's not necessarily about Halloween, the traditional Halloween that you know, but Halloween is a time for spooky, scary, the extraordinary. During Halloween or October, it's a really good, it's a time when a lot of countries actually celebrate and they dress up. I used to teach in Germany. When I was in Germany, we used to dress up for fashion. So there's different things. You also have Dia de los Muertos, so you see a lot of where they have a lot of skeletons and things like that. But these kinds of magic and monsters and different oh, I'm not even sharing my video yet. I didn't even know that. Sorry. Hi, everyone. You didn't even see my video. I'm so sorry about that. But this is me and Rosca the Pug saying hi to you from San Antonio, Texas. We usually join. I'm sorry I didn't have my video on earlier. But when you talk about magic and monsters and all of this, these different things, these are very popular. When you look at the movies, when you read books, you'll see magic and monsters and witches and wizards. You have Harry Potter, you have Twilight, you have Lord of the Rings. All of that has to deal with these kind of concepts. So there's a variety of things you can do. One of the teachers that I've met, Barbara Boothoff, and she's actually doing a free webinar with the Reform Symposium Conference about this topic. It's how in Bulgaria, in Hungary, she teaches her kids, her young learners, English by having them do magic. So they do magic tricks. You can have them choose to demonstrate them, and they can teach everybody. The great thing is that behind ghosts and monsters and all of this, there's a lot of science behind it. So if you teach something like CLIL, where it's content, language, integrated learning, then this is a fun way to do both, where you can get your students really excited about learning science and they learn the language by doing magic tricks. There's other reasons why kids love Halloween. One of the the reasons that kind of comes out is because you get to dress up. And for me, that's one of the best times of Halloween. I love to see especially the little kids, the ones that are like 6 and 7, walk around and dress up. They're so cute, especially as the favorite superheroes, as the favorite as scary little monsters, and they're just so cute. So kids love Halloween, and it's a great time when you can teach them about other cultures and traditions. It's very hands-on. You can do a lot of creative activities with Halloween. You can have them dress up many times each month. I mean, each week could be a different theme. It could be monsters one week. The next week could be fantasy creatures. They could be lions and dragons and all kinds of unicorns and stuff. It's a great time to teach them about safety, and then also you can do things about health, and you can have outside events. When you compare and you contrast celebrations, you can talk about the different types of countries, how they celebrate things and they dress up. So here, this is where I was talking about when I was teaching in Germany. We had fashion, and so you have these loud costumes. In Brazil, you have something, during February, a lot of different countries will dress up as well. So you have Carnival, you have Dia de los Muertos, you have the Venice, the Carnival in Venice. So there's different types of holidays in every country, in China and Japan, where people dress up, where they become like ghosts. There's a lot of Native American cultures where they even completely have white, and they do dances and things, and it's traditional, and we can do that. Now, it's when we think about, comparing and contrasting cultures, technology has given us a way that we can do so much and explore it, and it's real. So we don't have to necessarily just read it from a book. We can do things like Skype a classroom, and Skype has a really fantastic site now. All of this is free, by the way, and you can video conference. So you can see these students are doing a video conference here with these students. You can dress up and have a group parties where you have where you dress up as different things. You can read ghost stories to each other. You can learn about the different cultures. You could do blogsters about it. There's so many different things that you can do. One of my favorite sites, but you have to be 13, is Google Hangout. And I think Google Hangouts, you can do up to 10, and it's just a really incredible way. On Google Hangout, you can even dress up. You can wear you can have ears, you can have crowns. They put it when you're on the webcam. It just like if I Google Hangout and we're doing it now, it would just show me with like little ears and stuff. So Google Hangout is great to celebrate the Halloween fun. Um, it's a great time to get students to enjoy reading. There's so many great books out there. I am a huge fan of Julia Donaldson. We read her all the time in my children's classes. I love her. And she has something called the Gruffalo, which is really famous, and it's a great time to teach about that. But then you also have things like Where the Wild Things Are, and that's a new popular. When I was young, I remember that was one of my favorite stories. But they recently had some new animated um, movies, and so they brought it back to life. Halloweener, that's a funny one. Roscoe likes that one because it's about a dog. A Halloweener dog. Dan Pilker is one of my favorite writers as well. We always read books by him too. Okay, so what do you do after you do these readings? Well, when you are reading, with kids, you can do so much. You can have so much fun. So you can feel free to dress up. When I read A Room on the Broom, what I do is I wear a magic hat. Like a witch's hat. Sometimes I'll have my magic hat, and then I'll bring it out in the middle of the stories, and I'll say, ooh, what kind of magic thing are we taking out today? And the kids will pretend, and they'll come out and they'll bring out all sorts of pretend kind of items from a magic hat. So it's a great way to draw them in the story. Then to follow up, a follow-up activity could be something with Play-Doh. Play-Doh is a must in my young learners classes. It's a great way to review a lot of different things. So after we may read Room in the Broom and they talk about magic spells, after we see maybe a little clip or something, then we take out the Play-Doh. The Play-Doh, they get to play with it. And then they get to create monsters, or they get to create a creature, and they get to name them. I say, okay, is it a big monster? Is it a small monster? It's a great way to assess their language as well. And they tell me, so while they're making their monsters and it's very hands-on, I ask questions. Is he have one nose? Does he have two noses? What's his name? And then then we get in a circle and we sit down and they introduce their new creature. And they tell us the name and what planet they live on and all sorts of kinds of things. Recently I was in Croatia. I get to travel a lot in my job, so every where that I've traveled, I kind of take you all too. So we've done this in Thailand and in Japan and all kinds of places. And one of the places that we visited this year, or visited this year, was Croatia. So I was working with young learners in Croatia, and this is one of the games that they love, and it's a great theme for Halloween as well that you can play, which is monsters, and the theme of monsters. So we have magic and sorcery and witches that you can teach during Halloween time, but we can also explore monsters. And this one is a game. All the students stand, and then I have a little monster puppet, and the monster, they have to ask. They say, Mr. Monster, Mr. Monster, how are you? And I'll say, I'm sad. And then if I'm sad, nothing happens. Then they're just like, oh, why are you sad? Okay. And then I'll say, but if I say, I'm hungry, then I run around and then I try to eat them. This is the point of the game. And they love it because whoever is eaten gets to be the next monster, but they run around like it's crazy. So they love that. It's a good time to write spooky stories. So we hear a lot of times ghost stories during this time, and you can play for them. Kids, ghost stories, you can read to them. Goosebumps is a favorite among kids as well. There's so many storybooks, but after they do that, then encourage them to write their own story. Storybird.com is a free, easiest way to make a book. They have authors that make beautiful monsters and characters, and there's a whole bunch of them. There's literally thousands, and all the student has to do is to write in the text. That's it. And it's a great way for maybe if you're working with 10-year-olds all the way to 13-year-olds and even older. But when we talk about kids, this is a little bit for older kids, and this is a way to get them to write and be very creative. They can create even a movie, so they can create a horror flick, and they would love that if you grab them into different types of stories, or even if they're doing monster myths, or maybe if they're doing folklore, like Mary was talking in the chat, then one of the things you can do is you can have them use something like Kerpoof. Kerpoof allows you to do movies. It allows you to do different comics. So you can do quite a lot with Kerpoof. Kerpoof is one of my absolute favorite Web 2.0 tools. It's really easy for kids. It's safe for kids. They monitor everything. So you have them choose what kind of genre. We're going to have them do the spookier stories. And then with Kerpoof, they can choose various backgrounds. They have so many more than this one. I'm actually not doing this very much justice. But after they choose their background in the scene, then they can choose their characters. They have so many different characters that are available on Kerpoof. And then they add it to the timeline. They just simply drag and drop, and then they type in the text. So it's very easy. When it creates the movie and they play it back, you can have all of these things, the characters, the sound. So it's a great way to learn English as well. LittleBirdsTales.com is a great way if they're making a monster story. They can add their voice to narrate their spooky ghost story. They can add sound effects. They can add their drawing. So if you're in a low-tech situation and you're saying, oh, I want them to do monster stories, but how are they going to do that? I don't have any technology. Well, you can have them, a lot of times in my classrooms, I face the same situation. So what I did was I had them each draw their story. They could draw and they could color it. And then after they draw and they color it, I would put the book up together. So I would record their voices. I would record their voices with my mobile device because you don't even need a smartphone. A lot of mobile devices have where you can record their voice and you can record sound effects and everything. And then I would go afterwards and I would put it on littlebirdtales.com, and then the parents would have this nice class story of all of our spooky monsters that we created, our mystical monsters, and the wonderful stories that come out of them from their children, because the children are very, very creative, and they're so cute. They make me laugh. One of my favorite monsters, he comes from Japan. His name is Domo Khan. And Domo Khan is awesome, but he has a bunch of YouTube videos, and your students will love him. The great thing about Domo Khan is that it's all pretty much silent. So and with Domo Khan, it's in Japanese, so a lot of times you don't understand what he's saying at all, but you can see through the actions. It's sort of like a silent film. He's just so funny. He's hilarious. And these YouTube videos are only 2 minutes. So one of the things you do is you could go to CaptureTube or embedplus.com and you can create different types of annotations on YouTube. So you can make Domo talk. Or you can even use their free tool. It's called DomoGoAnimate.com. And you can even have Domo go to school. Domo can do all sorts of cool, funny things. During this time, you may check out the Join the Monster Global project. You don't have to, but I put this link in, and one of the reasons I put this link in is because of the activities. It has all these free lessons to do with monsters. One of them is draw your own monster. First, though, you have to do a monster mind map. And then in the monster mind map, you put the monster in the middle, and then you have all these adjectives. He's furry, he's big, he's purple, he has these big feet, and this is a good follow-up activity for Julia Donaldson's The Gruffalo, because in The Gruffalo, that's what it says. Ooh, it's a little mouse, and he talks about a Gruffalo, and he's like, he has long claws, and so the kids really love it and enjoy it. Another activity is now you can explore zombies. You can explore vampires and werewolves. So great activities that I noticed from onestopenglish.com is have your students do these monsters' daily routines. They can make a little comic about it. Basically, they're trying to think of, excuse me, when a monster wakes up, we brush our teeth, so you can compare it to their routines. Like, first you can have them start off by saying their routine, and they can do, when I wake up in the morning, teacher, I brush my teeth. Well, what is a monster going to do? Oh, well, a zombie is going to brush its teeth with brains or something like that. So you get them to start thinking about that particular monster. What is a werewolf going to do? Oh, a werewolf's gonna have fur that he catches in his teeth, or you don't know what they're gonna come up with. They're very wonderful. And that's a great idea too. Mary's saying how you can make a guessing game of someone's ideal monster should look like. That's a great idea. You can create an infographic of the routine, or they can simply color the routine. So they do something like that in a circle. It's a great way to teach about time and the clocks, about sequential language, like, for example, sequencing first, second, third. So in the morning, in the afternoon. So it's a great way to teach them that. You can also use different types of apps. So mobile learning is one of those things that is taken off, and our students have it. So if you have access to mobile technologies, Educreations, even you can go online and do these videos through Educreations. It's a whiteboard, but you make a movie, because anything you draw any type of website. You can put up a picture, everything. So this is available on the web as well, not just on your device. But if you do have an iOS device, you can download it for free, and the students can draw on it. They can actually. So in this one, um, there's it's monsters tells by first graders. So these are 7-year-olds, and they actually drew a monster, and then they talk about it, and you can see the little video. Um, During this time, one of the sites I love to visit quite a lot, that my students just absolutely love, is the British Council's Learn English for Kids Make Your Monster. And we learn about the different parts of the body, arms, legs, different things like that. But after they make their monster, so you may not think that's so fabulous now, but what is fabulous is that monster sings and dances, blows up, shouts and sneezes. And the kids love this. This is specifically made to teach kids English, and it's addictive. They want to do this all the time. And he sings a very funny song. It's really funny. It's um I'm a monster. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it has a British accent, and it's hilarious. And the kids love it. You can make monsters talk, so you can have them actually draw monsters, and the monsters can talk with Babblerize. Through Babblerize, they can send a spooky, scary message. They can tell monster jokes. They can talk to each other. They can say, sing their favorite song. You can make up your own monster games. You can go to teachchildrenesl.com. There's Boggles World, one of my favorite sites for language teachers. It's really wonderful. They have all these great lessons. But one of the great things about Boggles World is their lessons are good. They're fantastic, but they give you all these templates. So you, with bogglesworld.com, you also can download free flashcard templates. You can also download these different ways so your students can make up their own board game, and they don't have to play this one. But if you want to play that one, you can. Pumpkins. Did you know that pumpkins are one of the most healthiest? I think a fruit. Sorry, but out there, and they're really fantastic for a gourd. Yeah, maybe it's a gourd. You can have different types of. You can eat a lot of pumpkin. It's so good for you. It's one of the least calories and has the highest form of fiber. So during this time, you can do a lot of things with pumpkin. You can carve pumpkins, and then afterwards, the children can eat them because they're really good and they're really healthy. But there's a lot of things to do with pumpkins. So first, I like to plan it out. I have them actually draw a design before they carve a pumpkin. Now, in Germany, we didn't have pumpkins. So we used things like the gourd. We used instead, there are these like long like turnips and stuff like that that the kids made. And actually, I think those looked a little bit more spookier. There is of course, a pumpkin carving app. It's free. You can find those in any type of different types of. You can have that in different areas as well. Um, and you can have it on Android or Windows. So there's a free app to carve a pumpkin in pretty much every mobile device. Another thing you do is do Halloween jokes. Now I do this as a mingle activity sometimes, or where they have to find someone. So what I do is I'll give them either a slip of paper, and then one of them has the joke, and the other one has the answer to the joke. So that way the students have to find each other, and then this is really good because it teaches them context clues and to listen for different words and stuff. They really have to learn the English and pay attention to it. Teaches them literacy skills when they're reading the joke in order to find who would be the student that ends up having the end of their joke, the pun. They have to match it up. Sometimes I do this with QR codes. One of them has the as well. They have the answer, and then they have the question. You can do. There's different games out there that you can play that teach with different monsters and creatures, zombies physics. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I've been talking too much. I'm losing my oxygen there. They can create a monster game. So there's a lot of places out there. There's even Scratch. This is made from the wonderful people of MIT. It's absolutely free. And so let me go ahead and get that for you. So you can do this online. You don't have to do it through an app. But if you do have a mobile device, there are free apps to make incredible games that look like Super Mario Brothers and things like that. So the kids can make a monster game. And you'll notice that a lot of video games now have monsters. Monster is a part of popular culture. You can see a lot of Disney movies, a lot of DreamWorks, Animania. All of these different kinds of things have monsters and monster-related themes. This is a really fun app. This is Horror Fingers. Basically, you can have your students become a creature, and then what you do is you have the students go, and then the students can write a story, but their finger becomes a really funny creature. You can create trick-or-treat bags. You can have younger classes used to come and visit the older classes. And so this is a great way to get them to dress up. You can have them design it themselves, teach them about safety tips and brochure as well. Throw a party. It's easy to throw a different type of party for students. And then the activities. They can do things like bobbing for apples. They can even make their own cupcakes. You can bring a bunch of things for them to. You can make it sugar-free and things like that, so they're not running up and down the wall. When you are doing a party, you can have them divide into different groups and be responsible for each area, because when you throw a party or you throw like a carnival, you'll notice there's a lot of booths and stuff. So each pair of kids can be responsible for that. You can have one, and you can even do this if you're setting up a haunted house as well. And you can use a lot of fun things like spaghetti. Spaghetti a lot of times is used to indicate brains and guts. So it's kind of fun. There's other cool sites and apps I can tell you about. Digitalplayinfo.blog, the best, one of the best web resources out there. Free lesson plans for language learners will tell you in high school, adults, beginner, whatever it is, and it all revolves around games. So it's really fun and motivating. They give you all the materials. You can print out a PDF, and it's free lesson plans and has these great activities like a zombie story, or it has the make a monster, or it has a lot of different walkthroughs to different areas. And another favorite site among kids is Goosebumps. Goosebumps is a spooky kind of site. A lot of kids love reading Goosebumps. Whenever I've had boys who don't want to read, I show them Goosebumps because they love it. They absolutely will read a Goosebump. There's a lot of apps that you can teach Halloween with. There's word searches, there's pumpkins, there's mouth off, there's Halloween virtual, talking characters. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining today. You can go to the address, the bit.ly, and you can have all the resources. They're free, and then you'll see the slides later as well. If you go to the American TESOL site, that's a trick as well. So if you go to American TESOL, and American TESOL, you go to their blogger, then they post up every single recording. This is over 150 webinars that I've given with American TESOL. So I'm very excited for that. All of them are accessible and free, so you can share with your staff and teachers. Thank you so much for joining today. And next week, I think we're going to talk